So it's my great privilege to introduce one of the oldest and dearest friends of the Love and Fidelity Network, Dr. Matthew Frank. Dr. Frank moderated LFN's first conference back in 2008, which I think that he'll reflect on a little bit this evening. But he's been an incredible mentor to all of us at the Love and Fidelity Network over the years, and has even been a great advisor even in putting this conference together. So we're deeply indebted to him. Dr. Frank is the director of the William E. and Carol G. Simon Center on Religion and the Constitution in the Witherspoon Institute here in Princeton, New Jersey. He is Professor Emeritus of Political Science at Radford University in Radford, Virginia, where he taught constitutional law, American politics, and political philosophy. He's also currently a visiting lecturer in politics at Princeton. And Frank earned his BA in political science from Virginia Wesleyan College and his MA and PhD from Northern Illinois University. He was a Henry J. Salvatori Fellow at the Heritage Foundation in 1993, a J. William Fulbright Professor of American Studies in 1998 at the Graduate School of International Studies in Korea, and a visiting fellow in the James Madison Program in American Ideals and Institutions at Princeton in 2008 and 2009. He's published numerous essays and reviews in academic journals, reviews and commentaries on constitutional and political subjects in places like the Washington Post, First Things, National Review, the Claremont Review of Books, and Public Discourse. Dr. Frank blogs at NRO's Bench Memos and the First Thoughts blog at First Things, and has appeared numerous times on Bill Bennett's Morning in America radio show, as well as on CNN, Fox, and NPR. We're thrilled and honored to have him here this weekend, so please join me in welcoming Dr. Frank.
Thank you, Caitlin. It's a real pleasure to be here. I think I'll take a moment just to undertake my first duty as the Master of Ceremonies of this conference, and ask folks to either turn off or silence all noise-making devices on your persons. Cell phones, chiming iPads, when tweets come in, whatever. I had to remember to do that myself, so please. Welcome, one and all, to the 6th Annual National Conference of the Love and Fidelity Network on Sexuality, Integrity, and the University. As Caitlin indicated, I am the first retread Master of Ceremonies for this conference. That is to say, I've played this role once before. In 2008, when I was a professor at Radford University, who was on leave and a visiting fellow for the year here at Princeton, a young woman named Cassie DiBenedetto. She was still single then. Now she is the mother of 2 and happily married to my Witherspoon colleague, Patrick Huff. Is Cassie here this evening? She is somewhere. Cassie DiBenedetto, as she then was, came to me and explained this still new startup organization she had founded, barely a year old, called the Love and Fidelity Network, and asked me to be the MC at its first annual conference. I was enormously impressed with Cassie's commitment, her drive, and the intelligence, both in conception and in detail, that was evident in her plans for this first conference, and for the network itself. With support from generous donors, chief among them the Collegiate Cultural Foundation, and with the enlistment of a wonderful group of scholars who came to speak at that first conference, LFN managed to draw in, if memory serves, an impressive 100 or so students in attendance from 18 universities. This was rightly regarded as a smashing success. Now look around this room tonight. More than 300 students have registered for this conference from more than 30 universities. I think this kind of progress can justify us in saying that the Love and Fidelity Network is now a kind of revolution on the American college campus. Or perhaps it would be better to say that you young people represent the counter-revolution. The revolution you are countering, of course, is the sexual revolution, whose progress through the institutions of American higher education has made it the establishment. And establishments, as we know, can become intellectually complacent, casually tyrannical, and ferocious in their impatient rejection of all questions about their authority and their governing assumptions. Last night, I was out to dinner with a young man who recently earned his PhD, and when he mentioned the year of his birth, I suddenly realized to my horror that I could have taught his parents when I was a grad student, only a little younger than he is now. So for a moment, indulge an old guy who remembers the sexual revolution, not in the 1960s, when it was fresh and young, but in the 1970s, when it was beginning to put on its middle-aged paunch. Premarital sex was already by then just an expected part of the college social scene in the mid-70s. Ad hoc cohabitation of sexual partners was already normal, in a kind of unwitting parody of marriage, as couples shacked up and broke up and moved on to try again with someone new. Drugs and alcohol fueled the flames of desire and added to the sense of feeling rebellious. Young women were more or less expected to have the pill in their medicine cabinets. Failure of contraception commonly meant turning to abortion, which the Supreme Court had only recently legalized everywhere for the entire 9 months of pregnancy. College faculty and administrations did not yet consider it their responsibility to notice what was going on in any official way. Of course, they have since noticed it, but in all the wrong ways. Parents tried not to think about it, and clergy were way behind in even figuring out how they might talk about it. The full-blown hookup culture had not yet arrived, but neither did anything like the Love and Fidelity Network or its affiliated student organizations exist anywhere. Perhaps things needed to get worse before anyone would organize to try to repair and reverse the damage being done. But practically no one then on the American university scene was thinking seriously about what the sexual revolution was doing to relations between the sexes, to their ability to pursue the formation of durable families. In short, no one was thinking about what was happening to love and to fidelity. But there were other things that didn't exist on the American university scene 35 years ago as well. No one had a personal computer. There was no internet. Pornography was something young men bought in magazine form furtively at the few newsstands that indulged that vice. No one had a cell phone. Most of us did not even have a landline phone, but maybe a single common payphone for everyone on a dorm floor, and collect calls home to mom and dad were not too welcome if too frequent. They were expensive. A handwritten letter with a stamp on it was the commonest mode of communication with one's family if one attended a college more than a couple hours' drive from home. Social media was a phrase in no one's vocabulary. And the expression helicopter parents would have made us scratch our heads and wonder about some new fad of the fabulously wealthy. The revolution in information technology has taken the sexual revolution to new heights, or rather depths. But every technology is itself neutral from the standpoint of morality, even splitting the atom. What matter are the uses to which we put it. The information age has brought us ubiquitous pornography and sexting, and amazing opportunities for narcissistic self-regard on Facebook and Twitter, with even hookups and breakups being brokered online. Advances in biomedical science have meant the proliferation of assisted reproductive technologies and the ability to change even one's body to achieve one's preferred gender identity. Young women can shop around online for the best price they can get for donating, quote unquote, one of their eggs to an infertility clinic. Combine all this with the stupefying fog of our popular culture, take it from this old guy who recently heard the word twerking for the first time, And it looks like the establishment of the old sexual revolution is employing the tools of the information revolution to consolidate itself, to entrench itself more firmly than ever. Yet, at the same time, those same tools of the information age lend themselves to highly pluralistic uses as people connect, who would have found it very hard to find one another just a couple decades ago. I don't mean eHarmony and ChristianMingle.com, about which I don't know enough to say whether they're helping or hurting matters. I mean that you, in this room, can just reflect on who your friends are and where they are and how you regularly connect with them and with family in ways that were impossible for my generation. You have what we didn't: email, cell phones, text messaging, Facebook, Twitter, plus ready sources of information online that were either buried in obscure libraries or did not exist at all 35 years ago. I do not say all this to flatter any sense of superiority you may have over earlier generations, for it is never wise for the old to flatter the young. But quite the contrary. I say this to egg you on to use advantages that history has dropped in your laps. How do you all know each other? How is the Love and Fidelity Network even a network? How is it that you find the research, the evidence, the arguments, the experts, the allies, and the means to bring all those elements together to think about and defend the integrity of human relationships? It's all thanks to the social media of the information age. With these tools, you can be nimble, creative, responsive to events and trends. You can be mutually reinforcing, supportive, and helpful. And you can know that although you may be a minority where you are not alone, and you are not crazy. You can remind one another constantly that you can only fight for love with the tools of love, and a sense of humor doesn't hurt, but never with the tools of rancor, recrimination, and hostility. Those are weapons we can gladly leave in the hands of the aging sexual revolutionaries and their unfortunate young disciples. Like any good counter-revolutionaries, though, yours is also an essentially conservative task: to recapture, restate, and renew old wisdom about human relationships and human flourishing. That's why it's also absolutely essential to have meetings like this annual conference. The modern tools of information technology have enabled you all to find your niche, to discover a shared calling to sexual integrity, and to be here with each other. This conference exists because there is no perfect substitute for face-to-face contact, for hearing one another's voices in the air of the same room, for seeing one another's faces and not just over Skype or FaceTime, for shaking hands, sharing a hug, giving a real and not just a virtual pat on the back for congratulations or encouragement. It is thus that real camaraderie is formed, energies are revitalized, and the most productive plots are hatched. May there be much wonderful hatching of plots this weekend. In a moment, I will introduce our first two speakers, and throughout the day tomorrow, you'll be hearing me introduce others and direct you here and there. Others who will provide you with new insights into the issues you confront regarding marriage, family, sexuality, friendship, and the culture we inhabit that makes it more difficult today than ever before to honor and preserve all those great goods that are at the center of real human happiness. But now is an appropriate time for me to thank the tireless organizers of this conference at the Love and Fidelity Network, Caitlin Seary, Kelsey Paff, and the veteran Cassie Huff, as she now is. Anything at all that goes the least bit awry this weekend will not be because of them. Everything that goes right, we owe to their hard work. Thank you all.